It's great to be here with all of you in the shade, I guess, partial shade. My name is Matt Meyer. I'm your Newcastle County Executive. Welcome to Banning Regional Park, one of 250 parks in Newcastle County. We like to say it's the crown jewel of our park system, but I was in Carousel Park yesterday and I called that the crown jewel. I'm going to Del Castle Park this afternoon and I'll call that the crown jewel. So you're in one of 250 crown jewels of our Newcastle County park system. It's great to be here with Bluebird, with I.G. Burton, with Professor Kempton from the University of Delaware, so many others. Of course, I don't know if the Teamsters is here as well. It's great to see all hands on deck working for the benefit of our community and our country. You know, in preparation for this event, I started to talk to friends and colleagues about Bluebird and sort of your best memory on a bus. And I couldn't believe how many people on my staff had their first kiss on a Bluebird bus. And so another member of my staff said, Bluebird bus is where justice gets done in this country. And I said, justice gets done in this country? What do you mean? And he said there was a kid who annoyed him for years, and the only place he could find away from adults was the bus, and so he took care of it on the bus. So justice got done on a Bluebird bus. And today we're here to talk about another kind of justice, environmental justice and health justice and economic justice. There are, they say, 270,000 job opportunities available in clean vehicle technology. We know that that's only going to grow in future days, months, and years. And we also know that today, on average, there are about 10 emergency heat days, excessive heat days in Delaware, 10 on average through the year. And that's projected to be 50 by the year 2050 unless we do something about it. And we're here today to do something about it. I'm going to introduce, I think the longest or the most frequently elected official in Delaware history, who has not only been elected frequently, but he's served. And I've had an opportunity in my 5 years in elected office, after being a constituent and a fan of Representative Governor, State Treasurer, Senator Carper for years, to see his tremendous work ethic, his diligence, working round the clock for us, and really working insane hours to make sure that these green spaces are available to us, that our technology is cleaner, that our vehicles are cleaner. Now he's in a position where he has tremendous opportunity to change the course of our state, our nation, and really our world. I've heard Senator Carper often quote President Macron of France and say, in French. Yeah. There is a plan B. You can have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, but there is no planet B. This is the only one we got. And as soon as that bus driver gets in the driver's seat and turns the key, whether there's a tailpipe on that bus or like this one behind me, if there's no tailpipe, that makes a difference in all of our collective future. There are 25 million Americans with asthma. I'm one of them. So this is of personal, critical public health importance to our community and to me. So without further ado, Senator Tom Carper.
How many of you have ever ridden an Amtrak train? Raise your hand. Amtrak was founded about 50 years ago, right around 1970. And there are now more people who take Amtrak from Washington, D.C. to New York City than fly in all the airliners combined. But it took a while for Amtrak to take off, but it has. And part of the infrastructure package that we just passed in the United States Senate will make the biggest investment in Amtrak in the history of the country. And we're excited about that. There are more Amtrak employees who work in Delaware than any other state, Matt. And so it's going to be a great thing for not just Northeast Corridor, but also for Delaware. And that's one piece of our legislation. I want to thank Matt very much for being here, for his leadership he's just a joy to serve with. Just a joy to serve with. People say to me, "You've been treasurer, congressman, governor, senator. What's left?" And people think I'm going to say county executive. I always say sheriff. I want to be sheriff. And I don't know if that'll work out, Charlie.
I don't think you want to be county.
That's a hard job. That is a hard job, even on a good day. Charlie, thank you so much for being here. Charlie, Burton, how many auto dealerships do you and your family own?
9.
9. And is that more than anybody in Delaware history?
No, I don't know.
I bet it is. It really is. Have I ever been to one of your dealerships?
Yes, yeah.
Was it about 10 years ago?
Yeah, you drove a Volt.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to get arrested, as a matter of fact.
Fortunately, the state police are on our side.
Yeah.
But the 10 years ago, the car of the year, North American car of the year, was a Chevrolet Volt. And it was one of the early classic hybrids. We get about 38 miles on a charge, electric charge, battery charge. And then after that, it was fueled by gasoline. It was the car of the year 10 years ago. Great vehicle. And it's no longer being made, but the Chevrolet Bolt is. And the Bolt is also a terrific vehicle. The Chevrolet Volt got 38 miles on a charge. This car right here, which my son Christopher and I bought a couple of months ago, gets 326 miles on a charge. The improvement, the change in the technology is dramatic. Think about it. 10 years ago, 38 miles on a charge. Today, 326. Chevrolet Bolt gets something close to that. And their other Ford is in the business. And I think General Motors has said they're only going to make electric or hydrogen-powered vehicles come 2035. Ford's going to try to do something at least as good as that. There's a transformation taking place. How many of you have ever driven an electric-powered vehicle, battery-powered vehicle? They are fun. They are fun. It's a great song by Cyndi Lauper, Girls Just Gotta Have Fun. Well, a great way boys can have fun too is to drive electric-powered vehicles. They are just a hoot. Great torque, great. And the wonderful thing about it, there's a lot of storage in these vehicles because this one right here doesn't have a tire, doesn't have a spare tire, and it doesn't have an engine. And there's more storage. I still have my Chrysler Town and Country minivan with 600,000 miles on it, and this vehicle has as much storage room as the minivan, which is pretty extraordinary. But we're not here so much to compare the technology, except I think it's important to note the change in technology, the improvement, and it's only going to get better. It's only going to get better. One of the I have the privilege of serving as the chairman of a committee called Environment and Public Works. We have jurisdiction over clean air, clean water, climate. We have jurisdiction over drinking water, wastewater treatment. We have jurisdiction over, super funds, all kinds of stuff. It's really a wonderful assignment, especially now. We have spent the better part of this year working on infrastructure legislation that focuses on how do we provide better drinking water, cleaner drinking water, more readily accessible how do we clean up our sanitation, our wastewater sanitation in this country? How do we do that for communities that are really impoverished, not just wealthier communities, but how do you do it for people who just don't have money and communities are very, very poor? And we also have increased the amount of money that we will invest in roads, highways, bridges across the country by more than a third. Will be authorized spending of $303 billion over the next 5 years for roads, highways, bridges. We'll invest literally billions, tens of billions of dollars in bridge overhaul. And there are thousands, maybe tens of thousands of bridges that are inefficient, unsafe in many cases. And we're going to go to work on all of those. The great thing about it is the work needs to be done. When all is said and done, those investments are made, our nation will be stronger, will be safer, will be cleaner in a lot of ways. How many have ever been in a school bus? Okay. Somebody's lying. I just said, not every hand went up. How many have ridden in a school bus? How many have great memories from school buses? I'd have some great ones as well. And one or two not so good. It's probably the same is true for you. But not every morning, but every morning I try to work out. Today I went to the Y. Sometimes you see Matt there, sometimes you see John Carney there. But almost every day I work out, and a couple of days a week I run real early in the morning. And then part of my run takes me up toward Mount Pleasant High School, right up the 4-lane road. And about the time I run in the morning, school buses are just going out. School buses are just heading out. And the DART buses are just heading out as well. And I always wave at the school buses. I run against the traffic. I always wave at the school buses. You can hear them coming. And they usually honk at me. And I also wave at the DART buses. They're now electric, the ones that I see in the morning. You can't hear them coming, but a couple of them tried to run over me last week, not successfully. But I've been to the plant where they make those electric school buses, the DART, not school buses, but the electric buses that DART uses, and they're just a great investment in all kinds of ways. If you think about this, I talked to a fellow yesterday that runs a shoe shop in Wilmington, and a great guy. I've been taking my shoes there forever, and it was like 105 degrees. He said it's 105 degrees, and I said, this is global warming, and he said he didn't believe it, and I said, really? And he said he didn't believe it, and I said, well, look, our country's on fire, our planet's on fire, and I just went through all the tale of horribles that we're experiencing. He still doesn't believe it. Well, fortunately, we've got enough people in the Congress now who believe in it. We want to do something about it. We've got way too much carbon in the air. The question is, what do we do about it? And are there ways to address climate change, global warming, in ways that create jobs and economic opportunity? And as it turns out, there are. The idea that we can address, by addressing climate change, global warming, is a job killer, absolutely not true. Absolutely not true. The cars, trucks, and vans of the future are going to be electric. They'll be hydrogen. And hydrogen, I remember going to the Detroit Auto Show about 8 or 9 years ago. And I walked in. Has anybody ever been to an auto show? Anybody ever been to an auto show? Has anybody ever been to the Detroit Auto Show? Yeah. It's quite an extravaganza. And the Detroit Auto Show, they have vehicles from all the major manufacturers here, domestic and foreign, and they put them on these like large platforms. They call them stands. Stand. And several years ago, I went by the Toyota stand, and so think of a big platform, and there was a vehicle parked on that platform. It was elevated about 2 feet high, and there was you have to use your imagination for this, but there was using 2x4s, they outlined a garage around that car, and a house right next to the garage. And I said to the person from Toyota, who's sort of in charge of the stand there, I said, "What is that all about?" And he said, "This is a vehicle that's powered by hydrogen, using fuel cells, provides propulsion for the car." And he said the fuel cells with hydrogen. Also, this is a garage. It's in the garage, and cool the garage in the summer, and heats the garage and the house in the winter, and using hydrogen and fuel cells. And I said, "Well, that's pretty amazing." And he said, "The amazing thing is, it does create a waste product." And I said, "What is it?" And he said, "Water." He says, "It's water you can drink." That's the future. That's the future. And your delegation, Lisa, Chris, myself, we're all over this, and seizing the opportunity to create jobs and do good things for our planet as well. Last thing I mentioned is school buses. A lot of us start our lives, it's an important part of our lives as kids, and all the way up through high school. The bad thing about diesel school buses is they emit a lot of pollution that the rest of us breathe. They put out a lot of greenhouse gases, which contribute to global warming, which is not good. The other thing about school buses, they're not healthy for kids. The emissions are not healthy for kids to breathe. And there's got to be a smarter way. got to be a smarter way to do this, and it turns out there is. And right here in the United States of America, we're going to build a ton of school buses in the legislation that are clean, electric school buses. And there are 2 tranches of money that add up to $5 billion. One half of that $5 billion can only be used for electric school buses. The other half may be used for electric school buses, but it's not mandated. It could be, propane or some other low emission kind of fuel. But we're on it. We're on it. These vehicles are going to be built in America, designed in America, built in America, sold in America, maintained in America, and that's a good thing. And that's a good. It's a win-win-win, win-win-win-win. It's a lot of wins, but we need as many as we can get. The last thing I'll say is, I just want to shout out to the president. He and I don't agree on everything. We agree on most things, but he used to say in a campaign last year, when he heard the words global warming, the word that came to mind for him was jobs, and that's true. And we're going to create a lot of jobs, and a bunch of them are jobs making buses, just like this one right here in the U.S. of A. Should I stop now, Bonnie? Have I said enough? Yeah. Come on up for Charlie. Charlie was kind enough to let me, when the Chevrolet Volt was just brand new. The first Chevrolet Volt I think that came to Delaware was in his dealership down in Milford, and we drove down in my old minivan to the dealership, and the Chevrolet Volt was there. Cool looking car, really cool looking car. I talked about it, and he talked about it. And we had a bunch of camera crews like we have here. And after we spoke, we went for a ride, and we put the camera crews in the back, and we sat up front. And it's the most camera crews I've seen at an event in quite a while. And the idea there was to hype the Chevrolet Volt and let people know that this was coming. And we've come a long ways in the last 10 years. When it was over, he was nice enough to let me walk through his maintenance shop. And I don't know if you remember that, but we walked through, and spick and span. I think it's Saturday, and there was the employees were not there, the mechanics were not there, technicians were not there, and he said we talked about how hard it is to attract technicians, and I said, well, I was kidding myself. Well, maybe you should pay them more. And he said, no, we paid these guys and gals like $50, $60, $70, $80, $90,000, and it's just hard to get people to come and do this work. That was the genesis of creating a Center for Automotive Excellence in Georgetown to train men and women to be technicians for advanced vehicles. It's a partnership with Deltec, and it all started right there in your maintenance shop. So I want to thank you for that. Nice round of applause for Charlie Burton.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. That's a true story. He came down and bought, and the nice thing about the center, he likes cars. So we go see him as car dealers once a year and try and talk to him about the agenda we'd like him to promote, and all he wants to talk about is cars. And you only get about 15 minutes with the center, so it's like, hey, can we move on? Can we move on? But he's been a great advocate, he's really Delaware's guy. He comes to our events, he shows up. The Automotive for Excellence that was built, they really built kind of a dealership in Georgetown at Deltec. And that was a lot of that, quite honestly, that got a little shaky, and the center stepped right in and made sure the funding was there, and we got it built. And we really are, technicians are a big part of our business. We're looking for technicians now. We could probably bring on 15 technicians right now through all our stores. So thanks very much for that. That's really starting to work. Good morning, everybody. I'm Charles Burton. I'm the president and owner of IG Burton Company. I'm a car dealer. Actually a 5th generation car dealer. Our business, it's a family business that I run. We've been in business since 1908. That's 113 years. I haven't been there the whole time. But we've been a Bluebird bus dealer since 1948. So 1948, but we've been 73 years. We're Bluebird's oldest dealer, Bluebird's oldest bus dealer right here
in Delaware?
In Delaware, that's right. Old Milford, Delaware is Bluebird's oldest bus dealer. So.
In the country?
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. Woo, how about it?
Hey. That and a cup of coffee might get you something there. But anyway, Bluebird's been building school buses for almost 100 years. For the last 3 years, this all-electric, zero-emission, zero-pollution school bus that you see behind me is one of those they've been building. In those 3 years, they've sold 800 electric school buses in 22 states and 4 Canadian provinces and counting. At the conclusion of the event, we would be happy to take you all for a ride in this electric bus. You want to drive it, I know, but if you'd like to experience it firsthand, what an amazing, very quiet ride this bus is, and you'll agree it's a little different ride than what you remember in the past, riding as a kid. Bluebird is the market leader in electric school buses, having sold more than any other competitors combined. And Bluebird is the only school bus manufacturer to offer electric powered buses in all school bus types, Type A, Type C, and Type D. They recently announced that they have increased their electric school bus production capacity to 3,000 units per year, as they know zero-emission school buses are the future of student transportation. These electric school buses are not just products of the future, they are products of today. And they've been safely transporting kids all over North America for the last few years. And the great thing is, this bus can meet the needs of over 90% of all school bus route requirements. That's because the average school bus route is less than 80 miles per day, 40 miles in the morning and 40 miles in the afternoon. This bus has a range of over 100 miles on a single charge. Electric school buses have also had a significant positive impact to the environment. Replacing a diesel bus with an electric school bus removes approximately 23 tons of greenhouse gases per year. If all 480,000 school buses in the U.S. became zero emissions, 11 million tons of greenhouse gases would be eliminated every single year. A huge contribution to the fight against climate change and a very positive impact to our children's health. For the 24 million students that are transported daily on school buses in the 10,000 communities in the U.S. where school buses operate, we know that electrifying school buses is the right thing to do for the health and safety of our kids. However, the transition to electric school buses requires transformational support to help school districts make electric buses a reality. We truly appreciate Senator Carper's strong leadership in the electric buses, his strong leadership in general and just with transportation, and really just being a great overall man of character from a man of Delaware. So I like Senator a lot. We know each other very well. As the senator said, the big thing with electrification is getting range, And when he came down, you were getting 35 miles with that volt, and the volt actually kicked into an engine after that. If he ran out of juice, it kicked in. Now they're all electric, and they're all looking for a goal of about 400 miles with cars. With buses, it's, if we can get to 100, 150, all that's coming. It was 10 years ago, it was 35 miles. Now the range is about 400. You'll see more of that. There's a lot of infrastructure and a lot of work to extend the range. So I think we'll see a lot more of that. So thank you all for allowing me to speak here today. This is a Bluebird bus, which is really the best bus in the market today. I say that because I'm a Bluebird bus dealer, but it really is. I mean, Bluebird's the safest bus dealer in the world. They're the first ones in electric. They're just a strong organization and very well run. Now I'd like to turn it over to Meredith Hurst from Mom's Clean Air Force. All right.
Thank you. Good morning. Oh, I'm sorry. Good morning. My name is Meredith Hurst, and I live in Wilmington. And I am a volunteer with Mom's Clean Air Force. We're a community of over 1 million moms and dads nationwide working to protect our children from air pollution and climate change. I'm a mother of a child with severe asthma, and I myself am suffering from COVID long hauler syndrome. So the quality of the air we breathe directly impacts what kind of day we are going to have. As you may know, Delaware has many high ozone and high heat days, which for my family could mean an ICU stay. I was excited to learn about today's event being held here at Banning Park because I grew up right down the street.
No, really?
Yeah, Hillside Road.
Did you ever go by your house, your old house?
All the time.
Isn't that cool?
I actually stopped by one Halloween and they let me look in it. It was amazing. And I have personally experienced the increase of pollution due to buses traveling down Maryland Avenue and Kirkwood Highway. 17% of children in Delaware suffer from asthma. It is for their sake that we need to quickly transition from dirty diesel engines spewing pollution that causes cancer, triggers asthma attacks, and makes climate change worse. Children are more susceptible to health issues due to their still developing respiratory systems and quicker rate of breathing. And air pollution levels inside a bus are several times higher than those outside. It is time for our government to support clean energy and make investments in the electric vehicle market. And in order to improve public health and provide economic opportunities for all Delawareans. As a mother who has seen far too often the panic and fear in her child's face as his chest tightens and he gasps to breathe, or the disappointment from being told that he has to miss soccer because he's being admitted to the ICU, I believe we must do more to protect him and all children who suffer from this chronic illness. Our children deserve justice in every breath. That's why I'm grateful for Senator Carper for supporting robust funding for EV infrastructure and electric school buses. Senator, moms and your tiniest constituents are depending on you to invest in clean transportation and infrastructure. And thank you for your continued work. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We have Professor Willett Kempton, who's really locally leading the way for us on these issues from the University of Delaware.
Thanks for the organizers of this event and Senator Carper for the work he's doing in the Senate. So I want to talk about electrified vehicles for a minute, school buses, cars, and so forth. Don't believe the misinformation. This vehicle and that vehicle and all electric vehicles are reducing greenhouse gases and reducing pollution that Mary just spoke so compellingly about a minute ago. That's very real. There's about 3 states that are almost 100% coal where you actually aren't reducing pollution. Almost everywhere, including Delaware, you get a significant reduction in pollution the minute you drive that electric vehicle out of I.G. Burton's lot. And as we increase the number of renewable energy power generation, whether it's solar on your roof or offshore wind off Delaware's coast, we're making those cars cleaner and cleaner. But they're already cleaner, just to clarify that. And I got all the numbers behind it if you want it. Of course, there's other advantages. You're buying gas at essentially 80 cents a gallon. It doesn't go up when you bomb countries in the Middle East. It's less maintenance. And as Senator Carper said, more fun to drive. And when he says more fun to drive, what he's really talking about is he wanted a gig as a race car driver and he had to take a second best to be a governor and U.S. senator. But if you're giving him a car, Chuck can testify to this and I can too, make sure it's insured before he tests it by going out of the lot. Because he will use the accelerator. So the initial cost is still higher. We're looking at even a loss and life cycle cost that's higher. Just looking at the numbers, I'm not trying to do a sales pitch here. So subsidies are important now to get the market going. it is a higher cost to the school district, life cycle cost and initial cost. Other sources of revenue also help. I'll talk about that in just a minute, vehicle to grid power. Eventually, we will cross over in life cycle cost. And eventually is not that long, 3, 5, 7 years, we don't know exactly what. But right now we're still at higher life cycle costs for electrified transportation. And the other thing, when you say higher life cycle cost, that's just the direct cost that the school district or whoever pays, the car buyer. It doesn't count all the stuff that Mary was talking about. Those are huge costs. So when somebody tells you electric vehicles are more expensive, they're not counting all of the stuff she was talking about health impact. So we partly have a flawed economy that doesn't include that into the cost calculation when a district buys an electric school bus or an individual buys an electric car. So this bus, if paired with a Nuvve charging station, will from the get-go be able to do vehicle to grid. It was built in by Bluebird. Nuvve knows how to take advantage of that and put it on markets and make money. There's a few other car manufacturers. Volkswagen, for example, their cars come out of their factory now. The what is it, ID4, I guess, ready for V2G. There's a few truck companies that do that also, heavy vehicles. So what is this? Vehicle to grid? When you're parked and plugged in, when you're not driving, the storage in the battery can be used as a grid resource. That is, sometimes there's not enough power, sometimes there's too much. So the car will charge and discharge, primarily to make sure it's ready to drive, but as a second consideration to balance the grid. This is actually quite valuable if we can figure out all the different pieces that are needed to get it on the markets that already exist today. You can make quite a bit of money from a parked school bus in the lot or a parked car in your garage. Also, more storage allows us to do more renewables. So there's all these interacting things here. Electric school bus is cleaner. The more renewable energy we put on the grid, the cleaner they get. And when you do renewables, now you need storage to get up above 30 or 50% or so. We don't need it today to build another solar panel, but to get a lot of renewables on the grid to really deal with climate change, we need storage. Well, there's a ton of storage in that bus. So why should we buy separate batteries and put them in a warehouse somewhere? Let's use the electric vehicles that are coming onto the market for that storage. So that will allow us to get to a 100% renewable energy system, even though our generation fluctuates like wind and solar. So just to add a plug for Delaware, V2G is a great idea. It was conceived, patented, and demonstrated 11 miles down the road here at the University of Delaware by some smart people down there who will go unnamed out of modesty. But that is a Delaware invention. It's now being implemented by various vehicle companies like Bluebird I mentioned, and also by Nuvve. Perfect segue to our next speaker, Dick Johnson. Many of you know him already. He's worked for Autoport for years. He knows a lot of people in the state, but he got tired of so many people saying, "Hey Dick, good to see you again," so he grew a beard so you can't recognize him this much. But Dick Johnson, thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank people for allowing me to speak today. I've known Senator Carper for a long time. I did a electric LLV over at Autoport, and he drove it around the parking lot, and I was terrified he was going to turn it over. So was his staff people. So there's always Carper stories. So today I wanted to talk about Nuvve. If you remember, the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change reported a code red for humanity. That set off the alarm bells for the evidence that it's irrefutable that we are into a state of climate change. So I'm Dick Johnson. I started with Nuvve about 7 months ago. Nuvve is a San Diego-based company that grew out of the technology developed, even though this strange person down at the University of Delaware. And our focus today is on vehicle to grid. It's basically a software program that allows you to connect your vehicle to the grid. Nuvve's focus today, though, is solely at health of our students and our student population. And we're very focused on school buses because school buses can make a huge difference. So we're partnering with Bluebird Bus Company to use revenues generated by vehicle to grid to lower the cost of acquisition. A typical bus right now is 2.5 times more than a diesel bus. So it makes it difficult, and thank you, Senator, we'll be able to offset some of that cost someday. So what we do is come in and basically offer a turnkey package for schools that are interested in it so that they can actually look at that option. So as Professor Kempton said, the grid basically is buffered by the batteries that are in the size of this vehicle here. The nice thing is we can do 10, 50, 100 buses and aggregate them together so that they become a single power source. So why should we consider electric school buses other than that? Well, there's numerous benefits, and as I'll just go through a few. Studies have shown that children who ride on the bus to school are more likely, as we found out today, to develop respiratory diseases and worsening levels of conditions of asthma. 10 years ago, I was up in the Bronx, and I was meeting with the senator up in the Bronx, and he said, can't you do something to electrify the school buses? So 10 years ago, it was a major problem then, and it is today, still in the Bronx. So air quality inside of a bus, for those of you who don't know, can be up to 5 times worse than outside of the bus. So that's your kids riding in a bus. And studies have shown that exposure to diesel soot, ground level ozone, created by diesel exhaust is linked to higher rates of cancer and morbidity. By reducing the pollution, each bus can also deliver significant societal benefits, and that's really lowering the cost of healthcare expenses. So replacing one diesel bus reduces greenhouse emissions by 54,000 pounds per year. That's a lot. And that is equivalent to 3.75 pounds of carbon dioxide for every mile driven. Replacing all the country's diesel-powered buses with electric buses eliminates 2 million tons of greenhouse gas. That's not counting Class 6 and 8 trucks, which I'm working with also. That's a huge diesel polluter. And electric buses, surprisingly enough, are less to maintain and operate by about 60%. Also, electric buses get an equivalent of 17 miles per gallon versus 6 miles per gallon. And the other nice thing, which we alluded to, is electric buses don't make a lot of noise. And it also offers better communication between the driver and the students. If you ride in this bus, you'll be able to tell. So we're pretty excited about working with Bluebird to actually place more of these vehicles in school districts throughout the United States. And my experience has been there's quite a few schools now that are very interested in getting into at least one to see what it's like and how it operates. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk. Thank you.
My name is Francine Davis Motley, and I'm a member of the United Methodist Women from the Peninsula Delaware Conference. We are women of faith who are deeply committed to advocating for social justice issues on behalf of women, children, and youth. I'm here today representing United Methodist Women's advocating for 100% renewable energy that is cleaner and more just for all of God's people and creation. I have worked as an educational support professional for over 10 years in the Christina School District with students that have multiple disabilities. As a woman of faith and an educator, I urge Congress to pass a budget with ambitious investments towards clean transportation infrastructure, environmental justice, and climate solutions. Each day during bus duty, I attempted to hold my breath while the line of school buses idling curbside were spewing exhaust into the air. My students, many of whom already have compromised respiratory systems, We're exposed to these toxic pollutants daily. We know that exposure to diesel emissions can be detrimental to our health and the health of our students. Fine particulate matter, nitrogen oxides, and other pollutants are all byproducts of diesel exhaust that can irritate lung airways and exacerbate asthma symptoms. But more than 22 million students ride diesel school buses because about 90% of school buses in the U.S. are operated on diesel. We need electric school buses to protect our children and to protect their health. Children are especially vulnerable to the dangerous health impacts of diesel pollution, exposed on their daily commutes to and from school, making them more susceptible to asthma and chronic respiratory illnesses. You see, my son is one of the black children who are 5 times as likely as their white counterparts to be diagnosed with asthma. I recall when he had his first asthma attack.
How old was he?
It was a horrific experience. His gasping for air, the pain he endured while convulsing in my arms. As the attack consumed him, it left me feeling helpless. Latino children are twice as likely to die from asthma, while black youth are 10 times more likely to die from asthma than non-Hispanic white youth. Over 14,000 children and 75,000 adults suffer from asthma across the state of Delaware. Studies have shown that replacing all school buses in America with an electric-powered model would be the equivalent of taking 1 million cars off the road, saving millions of tons of pollution annually. Electric school buses are already available for schools to consider. They're cleaner, healthier, and often cheaper for schools to purchase in place of diesel fuel buses in the long run. Electric school buses have 0 tailpipe emissions, which we've seen today, which could reduce student exposure to toxic pollution on a daily basis. But the upfront costs to purchase electric school buses are high. And that is why Congress must increase investments to replace all diesel school buses with electric. Every child's health depends on it. Our students riding school buses and residents near major roadways and other pollution hotspots will benefit from the better air quality offered by electric transportation. Low-income communities and communities of color bear the brunt of pollution and climate issues. Delawareans deserve clean air. Without ambitious investments, clean vehicles, and infrastructure, our children's health will continue to suffer. We need Congress to protect their health, fight for climate change, and take steps to invest in clean vehicles. We appreciate and thank Senator Carper for his climate leadership, and we urge him, Senator Coons, and Representative Blunt Rochester to support a big investment in the budget process that will expand Delaware's fleet of electric school buses, help grow Delaware's EV infrastructure, reduce existing EV adoption barriers to underserved communities, and ensure that communities of color and low-wealth communities have equitable access to affordable, that word's affordable, electric vehicles and charging stations so that EV use is not exclusively for the rich. Every child has the right to clean air. Don't forget that. Thank you.
Bonnie Wu. Bonnie, is it a wrap? What's next? Come here, come on up here. Bonnie Wu's our Newcastle County Director. Bonnie, tell us what's next.
Sure, I'll say it.
Okay, and then it's a wrap.
So thank you for coming today. You've heard Delawareans speak with one voice today. Parents, teachers, business owners. I guess the largest auto dealer in Delaware history, I think we designated you. The longest, the most frequently elected, won the most elections in Delaware. Everybody's speaking with one voice. We need this, and we look forward to what the future will bring. I believe that every day there are new lessons to learn. Your lesson for today is every Bluebird bus has a bird over the door. Every Bluebird bus has a bird over the door. If that bird is black, it's diesel powered. If it's green with a little plug coming out of its tail end, look, it won't have a tailpipe. It's electric bus. So thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks everybody for coming out.